Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Office Management. This is Module 6. And in this lesson, we're going to be talking about event and meeting planning. That's one of the most visible things that you will do. It's a very important responsibility that you will likely be given as an office professional. And it's going to vary a lot, whether you're planning a small team meeting or a large corporate event. But your role is always going to be to make sure that everything's set up like it needs to be and that it runs smoothly from start to finish. And that's going to take that organizational skill we've talked about. You're going to have that attention to detail and the ability to move a lot of moving parts at once, right? Because there's a lot of things that go into planning events. So we're going to look at just a few of the steps here. First thing you need to do when you start to plan something is to understand the scope of it, right? Which is to understand that not everything is the same. Not all meetings and events are the same. If you're planning an internal team meeting, a client presentation, a training session, that's sort of in-house, right? Or this large company event where the public may come. That's more out there, outwardly focused. You need to understand how much time is going to go into each type of event. Each type is going to have different goals, different audiences. It's going to have different levels of complexity. All important, but you need to make sure that your energies are focused in the right way. So the first step is, always understanding what kind of event you're planning for and what success looks like in that type of event, okay? From there, you're going to move into phase 1, what our lesson calls phase 1, pre-planning and preparation. You need to clearly define the purpose and objectives of the event. Ask yourself some questions. What is the goal? What do we want attendees to gain from this event? Who needs to be there? Okay, and once you know that, you can start building out your plan. And at this point, you're going to need to start considering budget, right? Because it's probably not going to be 100% up to you. You're going to need to know what is the organization spending on this event. You're going to have to consider things. You'll probably have to bring some proposals sometimes that consider things like venue costs, catering, equipment, materials, maybe travel and lodging if you're bringing in people from outside to your event. Creating a detailed budget helps you stay organized and keeps the higher-ups from being surprised and aggravated later on down the road, okay? Then you're going to need to create a timeline, okay? That includes things like setting the event date. You got to book the venue. You have to send out invitations, confirm speakers, confirm vendors, make sure everything is completed on time. You need to have all of those things listed out on a timeline so you don't miss doing them in a timely fashion, okay? Booking a venue, if you're having a venue outside of your regular place of business, is important. It's important to do early. You wouldn't book your wedding venue the day before, right? You need to make sure that you get on their books out there somewhere. So you need to keep a good timeline to make sure you stay on track and that things don't get overlooked. Once all that's sort of set up, you can move into what our lesson calls phase 2, logistics and execution. This is where your planning sort of turns into action, okay? We've already talked about selecting a venue. That's one of the most important decisions that you're going to make. You need to consider things like capacity, location, accessibility, available technology. The space that you choose has got to match the size and purpose of your event. Even just planning meetings here at Panola College, there are some meetings that happen in the ballroom because everyone on campus needs to come. They're huge. We need the screens. We need audio equipment. So we have them in there. And then there are some that happen in very small conference rooms because it's just among 10 or 12 people. And we can all hear each other speaking across the table. That's a different thing to plan, and it requires a different type of venue, okay? You're going to need to organize your supplies and your services. That could be audiovisual equipment, catering, materials, transportation needs, that type of thing. Make sure everything is ready ahead of time, and that's going to help you prevent issues during the event, okay? Make sure you manage your guest lists and invitations. If you forget to let people know it's happening, no one's going to come. So that's very, very important to make sure that you have handled. Send your invitations earlier or your calendar requests early. Include clear details. Follow up with reminders. For meetings, Tools like the scheduling apps can help find times that work for everyone. We use those sometimes at Panola. There's different scheduling apps where you can send multiple people an email and have them choose different time slots that would work for them. And then you can sort of compile that and see what time frame has the most availability. Okay. For larger events, you can even find software that will help track RSVPs and help you manage attendance. Okay. When you're all set up and ready, we're getting ready for phase 3, which is going to be the day of the event. And that's where everything comes together. If you have an event that you are in charge of, I cannot stress enough that you need to be the first one there. You need to arrive early. Even if it's just a meeting. If it's a meeting that starts at 9, you need to be down there at 8:40, making sure there's coffee, the agendas are on the table, whatever needs to be happening. You need to make sure seating is arranged properly, equipment is tested, and all the materials are ready to go. As people come in, you need to be there to greet them and help guide them. If it's a large event, you're going to need to delegate. You're going to need to have helpers for this to make sure everybody knows where they're supposed to be, how we're flowing, because that's going to help create a positive first impression. During the event, as much as it depends on you, help keep things flowing on schedule. Sometimes you'll have speakers. You can't really control if they go over. You can stand back there frantically doing this. Just try to help push it along so that it stays on schedule. Help monitor transitions between speakers and activities and make sure things flow smoothly. Because especially in a business event, you want to be time conscious. Because if you've told people it ends at 4, you kind of need it to end really close to 4, right? You don't need to go way over. Because it's not that we don't enjoy work events, but they're still work events, right? And we want them to be done when they're meant to be done. Be prepared the day of the event to troubleshoot. You can plan everything to a T, but things can still go wrong. Technology can fail, schedules can shift, a speaker can be late, unexpected issues can come up. You need to stay calm, think quickly, and solve problems without disrupting the event, okay? Make sure you have backup plans in place that can make a huge difference. And now, even after the day of the event, you're not quite done because phase 4 is post-event follow-up. A lot of people overlook this step, but it's as important as the planning itself because immediately after the event is the time to ask yourself, what went well? What do we need to work on? What should we change? What could be improved? You can gather feedback from attendees, speakers, team members to help you sort of understand how we can improve future events. You also need to make sure you send out any follow-up communication. Thank you notes if that is required, thanking your attendees, sharing important information or materials. Like if a speaker says, I'm going to give the event coordinator this information to share with you, make sure you do that, okay? Don't forget all the little details that come at the end. You'll probably have invoices to close out, equipment to return, and documentation to organize. The time to do that is within the day or two after the event is over. Sometimes when an event is over, you think, I don't want to think about that again for a year if it's a regular thing, but do it now. This is a do it now task. Don't try to wait because before you know it, things are going to start rolling up on top of you. Okay. Now, this module, we didn't really talk about it here, but this module also contains videos on setting up a Zoom meeting, which is a sort of a mini event that you may be in charge of setting up fairly often because starting with COVID and now in the post-COVID world, Zoom meetings are a very big thing. It cuts down on cost, right? People that used to have to gather together, travel to meet, can now meet on this computer screen. And so it's a mini event that you may often have to set up. So they're easy to do, but it's a little intimidating the first time you do it. So your assignment, in addition to your regular quiz, is very simple. It's just to set up a Zoom meeting with me. It will be quick, just to say hi. We'll see each other's faces, see that you've done it, that you've got your sound on and your video on, okay? I'm going to be pretty flexible. I can set up these meetings pretty much whenever it works for you, and we'll make it work. Even if I'm at work, I can step out of the office as quick as they'll be with my phone, and okay, we've Zoomed in, okay? I know this might sound like not much, but it's a very practical skill that you may need. It's not a difficult thing to do, but it can be intimidating if you've never done it before. So this is a good place to rip that Band-Aid off and do it the first time when no harm, no foul, right? If you mess it up with me, I'll let you try again and we'll keep working on it till you get a good grade. So it's a good place to try and fail so you're not doing it in the business world. That's all I have for you this week. If you have any questions, reach out to me and I will see you in Module 7.